Hey guys, we are back at it again, another month down of 2024. I'm Lily, and this is Lily in the Library. So I'm coming to you today with my July wrap up. Let's get right into it. I don't want this video to be too long. If you're wondering what these stacks are behind me, these are my book haul for the month of July. I do have a video going up. I'm not sure if this video will be up before or after that, but it will be linked down below. So let's get into a few quick stats for the month of July. I realize I haven't really been doing this for previous months, and I thought maybe this would be something kind of interesting to include. So this month I did read a total of 13 books, and that is including one DNF. I normally don't include my DNFs in the books I've read, but because this book I got to about 60% of the way through the book, I'm going to go ahead and count it because I also rated it. My total pages this month was 3,313 pages, which breaks down to just a little bit over 100 pages per day. I am so thrilled about that. It's just barely over the 100-page mark, but that means that we've been hitting that goal, and it's such an achievement for me. This month, my star breakdowns were 2 5-stars, 4 4-stars, 6 3-stars, and like I said, I have the 1 DNF. So let's jump right into the books that I read this month. So the first book I read is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Now, technically, you could say I read this the end of June, but I finished it in July, so that's where we're going to count it. This was a 4-star for me. I really enjoyed it. There was some mental health representation in this book that I enjoyed. I did annotate it pretty heavily. I do still need to go back through and highlight and just kind of like adjust the annotations and everything, but this was so good. I listened to it on Libby as well as physically read it, so it was a great immersive read for me. And like I said, I just had so much fun annotating and just really being submersed in this world. Now, the only time that I felt like it was very overwhelming was when she's really spiraling down and having like her mental issues. That part was a little bit hard. It was a little bit triggering for me, but we got through it in the end. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. This is the synopsis says 16-year-old Aza never intended to pursue the mystery of fugitive billionaire Russell Pickett, but there's a $100,000 reward at stake, and her best and most fearless friend Daisy is eager to investigate. So together they navigate the short distance and broad divides that separate them from Russell Pickett's son, Davis. Aza is trying. She is trying to be a good daughter, a good friend, a good student, and maybe even a good detective, while also living within the ever-tightening spiral of her own thoughts. So the way this is framed, like I'm going to be honest with you, when I first picked this book up, I had no idea what it was about. I actually borrowed it from the library initially, the physical book, because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a book I wanted to buy. And silly me, I should have known that I was going to want to buy it. It's a John Green book. I love John Green. I've read just about every book. I think there's 1 or 2 books I haven't read from him and don't own. Now I can cross this off my list. So I didn't really know what this book was fully going to be about. I didn't bother reading the synopsis. It's John Green. I was pretty sure I was going to enjoy it, at least listening to it. Maybe not enough to buy it, but at least to listen to it. So reading the synopsis makes you think that it's going to be a lot about like this mystery. Where is the guy? Like we're investigating something. And it's almost not about that. There's like a few investigative scenes here and there, but the investigation dies almost, I felt like almost immediately. Like it's not a very big part of the book. It's almost like something that's just happening in the background, and we're more so focusing on Aza and her friend Daisy, and also David and his brother, I think Noah, and what mainly we're focused on is what Azza is going through and how she's dealing with things. The other thing I was curious about is why is it called Turtles All the Way Down? What is up with the Turtles All the Way Down situation? And that is also explained in here through a little quote. So Azza does end up going to the hospital at some point. I won't get into why she goes to the hospital, but we find out where the name of this book comes from when she comes out of the hospital and she's having a conversation with Daisy. And Daisy says, "That reminds me of a story my mom tells." "What story?" Elsa asks her. I could hear her teeth chattering when she talked, but neither of us wanted to stop looking up at the lattice sky. "Okay, so there's a scientist, and he's giving a lecture to a huge audience about the history of the Earth. And he explains that the Earth was formed billions of years ago from a cloud of cosmic dust, and then for a while the Earth was very hot. But then it cooled enough for oceans to form, and single-celled life emerged in the oceans, and then over billions of years life got more abundant and complex until 250,000 or so years ago humans evolved and we started using more advanced tools, and then eventually built spaceships and everything." So he gives this whole presentation about the history of Earth and life on it, and at the end he asks if there are any questions. An old woman in the back raises her hand and says, "That's all fine and good, Mr. Scientist, but the truth is the Earth is a flat plane resting on the back of a giant turtle." Scientist decides to have a bit of fun with the woman and responds, "Well, but if that's so, what is a giant turtle standing upon?" And the woman says, "It's standing upon the shell of another giant turtle." And now the scientist is frustrated and he says, "Well, then what is that turtle standing upon?" And the old woman says, "Sir, you don't understand. It's turtles all the way down." Yeah, it says it's turtles all the way fucking down, Holmesy. You're trying to find the turtle at the bottom of the pile, but that's not how it works because it's turtles all the way down. So it's kind of like I said, there's a lot of mental health situations happening in this book, and that is a little bit of a representation of what Azza is going through. This was a great book. My only note is, like I said, the part where she is really spiraling and dealing with her mental health can be a little triggering. There's also a part where, like I said, when she's in the hospital, she's going through something, and that can also be a little bit triggering as well. So I would just kind of go into it knowing those things. If you're really concerned, I would look up the trigger warnings, but I would highly recommend this book. It's a great John Green book. The next book that I don't have is The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I read this for Gavin Reads It All, the Patreon book club. I thought it was fine. I ended up giving it 4 stars. My only thing was it was very slow. Uh, it was about 80% of the way through the book before it really started to get interesting, which is sad because there was a lot of things going on. And like the more I think about it, the more I think I might bump it down to a 3 star. But right now it's sitting at a 4 star because the writing was great. The imagery was great. Like the whole situations, everything that was going on, I absolutely loved it. I loved how kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, the book could have been darker, but I enjoyed how dark the book was. I enjoyed the subject matter, I enjoyed the setting. It was just very slow. And then when we get to the end, everything is kind of like wrapped up in a little bow, and it wasn't for me. I feel like we could have had a little bit more grit to the ending. It seemed just to be like a happily ever after ending, and everything got resolved. And so, for that reason, I just didn't care for the ending. I also feel like it's almost being left open to where this could be a series or more than one book. And I don't think that what's going on is substantial enough for it to be more than one book. I don't know. Like I said, right now it's sitting at a 4, but I might end up bringing it down to a 3. It was so good, like in so many ways, but then in a lot of ways it wasn't. Then another huge disappointment for me this month. I love Lucy Foley. Okay, up until this point, she was one of my favorite authors. And it's not that she's not my favorite author anymore. It's just like now it's definitely not going to be an auto-buy author. I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant when I jump to read her stuff or hype her stuff up because my next book was The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. and I gave it 3 stars. I was so disappointed. I don't know if you guys saw my reading vlog about it, but literally all I came away from this book was screaming birds. Again, the writing was great, and I was intrigued almost from the beginning. Like, the beginning intrigued me a little bit, and then we kind of went like 30 or 40%, and I was just kind of like listening to it as background noise, and it wasn't super great for me. But then, like, it really started to get interesting, and there was a bunch of stuff happening. But it was like the resolution in the end was just flat. I wanted more. I wanted something bigger. It was like, if you watch The Village from M. Night Shyamalan, this was the book for that. I really can't say much more about it. It takes place in the summer. It's at a like a manor. It's kind of like an Airbnb sort of situation. There's different little shacks and stuff on this property. There's a lot of things going on with the property and like the town around it. It's a very close community, close knit community, and we have a couple of different players which we're getting POVs from throughout the story. And basically, everybody has been gathered here at this manor to kind of celebrate its reopening. The new owners have like revamped it, and the main female character, she has invited like a lot of like Instagram people and people who have like social media presence and stuff to help, and people who have like money and are just kind of like in that area of society to help get this business out there and get it, up and off the ground, and like to attract a new clientele. So there's a bunch of different people who are both from the town and from out of town, and there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of people who know each other from before but don't realize the inner workings of the relationships, and the kind of like little bit of mystery going on there was great. The birds were not, and I feel like I need another book. I need another Lucy Foley book to erase this. Give me The Hunting Party. Give me Paris Apartment. Like, damn, what was this? It was not for me. It just wasn't for me. Then the next 3 star I read was Eileen by Otessa Moshag. I read this book because I wanted to watch the film adaptation. I was disappointed by both. I was more so disappointed by the film, if we're going to be completely honest, because it followed the book pretty closely, but I don't know, it let me down. It was worse than the book. The book was pretty grotesque. There's a lot of description and stuff about our main character, Eileen. It's told from her point of view. She's the one who's telling the story, and she's talking about when she was 24 and she worked at this boys' prison. It's kind of a prison, it's kind of not. It's just this week in her life where she worked there and what goes on. And we do get like a callback from uh her life before, like what happened to her mother, how things have gone downhill with her father, her relationship with other people her age and her sister and that kind of stuff. But it really is focused on her, what's going on in her life currently as a 24-year-old in this week of her life. And I would consider this as like a slice of life type of book, because there's really no point. Like, there's no real mystery. There's no real. I mean, we do find out things, but we never set out in the book to find this out. It just kind of organically happens as things as things might happen in your own life. You find something out that you didn't even know was happening, or that you didn't even know you wanted to know, or that you don't want to know, and now you know.
What?
But I don't, it was very slow. It was very about her, and really, like I said, nothing else. There really wasn't a plot to this story. It was kind of very aimless and meandering. And I just I don't know if maybe slice of life and like character focused plots are not for me because I just felt like there wasn't enough happening. I believe the book, I listened to it on Libby. I believe the book was 8 hours long and it took me forever to finish it. Um, and then the movie, I think, was like 2 hours long and it seemed I had to watch it over 2 days. It felt endless. It was a miss for me. The writing was okay. What was going on was okay. Like I was semi interested, but I could have spent my time better. And then next, I am going to include a cookbook on my list because I received it as an ARC from NetGalley. I did read the entirety of it. Lots of cute little recipes. It is called the Anime Cafe Cookbook, and it was cute. It was cute and has a lot of cute little Asian recipes. Some that I'm like really excited to try. There's some that I'm very familiar with, so I'm really like definitely wanting to put those together and see how it comes out like based on an anime show. It was so cute. It was a quick read, obviously, and so yeah, I give it 5 stars because it was cute. Then I read Any Man by Amber Tamblyn and I gave that 4 stars. This book was very grotesque. Um, there was a lot happening in this book, and I would highly recommend you looking up what it's about before you get into it. It was a pretty quick read. I think I listened to it on Libby again. It was a 5 hour listen, but I want to say it was like it ended up being 3 hours because I listened to it on 1.5. I don't even really want to talk about what the book was about, but I will say I think it was well done. I think it was well written. I think it really hammered home some messages. And also, I found it very interesting to see how men deal with the same type of things that women deal with and the double standard that comes into play. Just the difference in way men look at things and the way they are treated when the very same situations happen to women and have been happening to women for a very, very long time. So I thought that was an interesting exploration. I do recommend this book. I highly recommend that you look into what this book is about before you get into reading it. And then my DNF, which I did give a 1 star, I hardly ever give 1 star, and I normally don't rate my DNF books. But because I read 60% of this book, I felt like I had read enough to know that this book was going to be a 1 star for me, even if I had finished it. It is called The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Kah. I can't even really tell you what this book was about. It was that much of a slog to get through, and I was listening to it. There was a lot of words for the sake of having a lot of words. It was a lot of writing for the sake of having a lot of writing. There was a lot of pretension going on for no other reason than to be pretentious. I get it's supposed to be about like the plague times or something like that's all I can get. And I don't have no idea why it's cold and the salt grows heavy. No idea. Absolutely none. I know a little bit about them wearing masks and a little bit. That's really it. I don't even remember what this book was about. It sucked. It was boring. It was just saying so much and yet saying nothing. Complete skip for me. And then we get into my second 5 star for the month, which is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. This book, after reading that terrible crap, The Salt Grows Heavy, reading this was so refreshing. This book was so good, I did not want to stop reading it immediately. Like, the first couple of chapters had me, and then it just kept giving me little things here and there and here and there. And then in the end, what? I thought this was so well done. I really enjoyed this book like so much. Again, I listened to it on Libby. It was a great time. I loved it. It was very easy to follow. It was very easy to just eat up. It was such a good book. It's the basic premise is it is a thriller, I believe. It's about 3 siblings. So they are coming back to the family home after their mother has passed away. Now, the oldest daughter, oldest sibling, she has been there this entire time taking care of her mother and just, living in the house and all that. The other two, I think the son lives in California. He lives somewhere else. I think he lives in California. The other daughter, I think she lives in the same town, but she has a drug problem. So they're really not, connected like they were when they were growing up. They've definitely grown apart. There's been some divisions, and the main division happened when their father went missing or left. We don't find out until the very end what actually happened. And that is a mystery that's going on throughout the entire book. There's kind of like two or three different mysteries that are going on, and they're obviously all intertwined and stuff. And the book starts off with the mother dying. The siblings come back to the house, and then they find this VHS tape that kind of changes everything for them and starts making them be very skeptical and looking at their parents in a different light. From that point on, the story gets really interesting. We're going through like an investigation, a lot of secrecy. There's diary entries, there's other video recordings and things that we find out, and it was a good time. It was such a good time, and I did not see that ending coming. Then I started reading my holiday books, and I started off with The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson, and I gave that a 3 star. It was good. It was well written. The premise of the story was good. It's hard to even tell you what it's about without giving it away because it is a novella. But I wanted it to be longer. It felt to me like it should have been longer. It felt to me like there just wasn't enough storytelling happening. There wasn't enough of a resolution. The mystery was not fleshed out enough. Uh, like you get the gist of what's going on, but it just it fell short for me. And then another novella I read for my Christmas readathon was Set the Record Straight by Hannah Bonham Young. I loved this book so much. This book was so good. I did annotate it. I read it physically and I listened to it on audio, and it was just a great time. It is about two girls who are childhood friends, and they have stayed in touch all this time. I don't really want to talk too much about it because again, it's a novella. It's pretty short. I did talk about it in my reading vlog where I read the other holiday books, so I don't want to talk about this too much. But this was really good. I gave it 4 stars. It could have been 5 stars, but I just felt like it didn't quite reach the 5 star level. But like I said, it's about two young women who are pretty much best friends, Clara and Evan, and they end up coming to an arrangement to be fake dating and quickly realize that they are not going to be fake dating. And from there is a romance, and it is just so beautiful. I absolutely loved this. I love the dynamic of the women. I love the dynamic with Clara's family. And this gave me all the Christmas vibes I was hoping for. And then I took a quick Christmas break and read Middle of the Night by Riley Sager and had another 3 star. This took me by surprise because I had never read anything by Riley Sager before, and I have heard mixed reviews about his books and his stories and stuff. But I was pretty excited to read this one. I know this is a pretty anticipated book released from him, and it is his first time writing his main character as a male. So this book is about, I cannot for the life of me remember what the main character's name is, but I remember that his friend Billy is the one who goes missing in the middle of the night. 30 years ago, when they were kids, they were camping outside of our main character's house, and in the middle of the night, Billy goes missing out of their tent. And from that point on, he's always missing, and we never really find anything else going on about. Nothing is ever found, no evidence, no trail, nothing all this time. And so we are coming to the story when our main character is coming back to his childhood home, and there are some new developments while he's living there in the investigation of Billy's disappearance. So, there's some new clues, some new evidence, and some things that he's finding out, some memories, and just some kind of like weird stuff that's happening that, looking back now that I finished the book, kind of doesn't need to be in the book. It's almost pointless, but whatever. I feel like the book was very well written. There were a lot of interesting reveals and red herrings. It could have been so much better. When we get to the end and we find out what the ultimate twist is and what really, like, what happened to Billy, it's just like, that's it. Just that. What I had going on in my imagination was better than this ending. So yeah, it was 3 stars. I was disappointed, and I hopefully will not be disappointed by my next Riley Sager read. Then the first of my last 2 books is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. Again, this was another 3 star. Nothing wrong with this book. It's just forgettable. Like even now I'm trying to think what things happened in this book, and it's kind of hard to remember. We follow 2 twins who switch places during the holiday season because one of them, I think they're Charlie and Cass. And Charlie has a cooking show, or she's trying to get a cooking show, but she's on a show, like basically trying out to have her own TV show. And then Cass is running the family bakery in their hometown. Charlie has a head injury and she's not able to smell and taste. So her and Cass change places, and there's a lot of shenanigans going on. Typical, like, they're messing up stuff because they're not the other person. But the one thing that got me, right, is like, this doesn't feel like a Christmas book to me. Every chapter begins with how many days away from Christmas we are, and without that and like the snowing in the like a sprinkle of talking about holiday stuff here and there, this would not have been a Christmas book to me. I don't know, it just didn't give me Christmas vibes. And then the guy, Austin, is that what his name is? Yeah, Austin. What a fucking tool. Oh my god, I hated that guy so much. Like, and he, rightfully so, he gets what he gets in the end, but still, like, the whole, oh, he was so annoying. There was like no redeemable qualities about this man. So yeah, that was just, I don't know, I really hated that. And then the ending was so cookie cutter. Like I said in my vlog, this is like reading a Hallmark movie. And then that's great, but I wanted to not have like everything. I don't know. I just don't like when everything is tied up in a perfect bow. It's like at the end, we're getting, everybody's happy. Well, I mean, not Austin, but screw him. But yeah, everything's great and everything's magical, and everything's like going the way you would think it would go. And it just, I just didn't care for the ending of this book. Like, we could have had a little bit of a somber note, anything. But it was a solid 3 star. Like I said, there wasn't anything wrong. I didn't feel the need to annotate this one. There were a few moments where I was like, oh, that's cute, but it just wasn't enough to warrant being annotated, I guess. And then the last book I read this month is Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. And again, this is another 3 star. I did, however, annotate this one pretty heavily. I had a lot of fun annotating this one. There were a lot of cute moments, a lot of funny parts that made me laugh, and then I enjoyed reflecting on the relationship between our main character Ellie and her mother. That relationship was so messed up. I don't know what I expected from this book, but it wasn't that. It was a great holiday book. I will say that. It gave me a lot. It gave me so many holiday vibes. So for this, like, just the Christmas vibes, I loved it. It would, if it was just that, it would have been 5 stars. But there was stuff going on in this book that I didn't care for. I didn't care for the way Dylan treated Ellie, and the just, I don't know. It's like, I know things are going on between Ellie and Jack. It just seemed like Dylan was intentionally trying to hurt Ellie with things. I don't know. But I enjoyed Andrew and Jack's family. Like, they were so cute. The ending was meh for me. Like, I feel like I kind of get the feeling like the author didn't Know how to end this or was conflicted about how to end this because it just seemed like we got this heartbreaking ending and then we also got like trying to be a happily ever after ending, and it just, that was not, pick one. Like, I don't know, it just, it seems like if you're going to let somebody go, then you're not going to go run after them immediately. um and I remember getting to like the last two or three chapters and thinking to myself, how is she going to wrap this up in these last like 20 pages? Poorly is the answer. But aside from that, it was good. I would recommend reading this book. It just wasn't the best, most well written book, in my opinion. But I did enjoy the relationships. I did enjoy the anxiety, mental health representation. I enjoyed her best friend Meredith, hated her mother, enjoyed the family. It was a good time, and there's a lot of like cute quotes. There's a lot of good quotes that like I can apply to my own life. Just a lot of things to ponder on. And yeah, so I would recommend this, and I think I would read this again. It was good. I just didn't care for the ending. So that's everything I read in the month of July. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing if you did and give me a thumbs up. I would love to hear what you guys read in July, how your July reading went. Have you read any of the books that I've read this month? Did you agree with my ratings or did you disagree? And are any of these books on your TBR? Do you want to read any of these books? But that's all I have for you guys today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.